Vice President Kamala Harris made history last night, becoming the first woman of color to accept the presidential nomination for a major political party.
We're wrapping up the Democratic National Convention. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll talk to Democrat Zanetta Everhart. But right now, we're joined by Michael Kracker, the chair of the Erie County Republican Committee. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me in, guys.
All right, first question here. The momentum swings both ways. Obviously, we're kind of swinging toward the Democrats. They just had their convention. That's the whole point of all of that. How do you guys now come back from all that in the past 4 days?
Yeah, well, certainly this has been one of the most interesting campaign cycles of certainly of my lifetime. But I think it's important to note what happened in Chicago. The Democrats nominated a candidate who hasn't received a single primary vote, hasn't articulated any major policy positions, refuses to take national media interviews, and is running right now a scripted campaign at rallies. Contrast that with Donald Trump, who meets regularly with the media, holds rallies regularly, and has a very clear policy agenda. So I think that this sugar high that the Democrats are enjoying right now is going to crash, and ultimately we're going to see that Vice President Harris was unpopular as vice president for a reason, and should be unpopular as a nominee.
Can I just ask, though, last night when Kamala spoke, did you hear the policy that you wanted to hear? That a lot of people were arguing, oh, we don't know what her policies are. I mean, she outlined a lot of that last night.
You know, when we were in Milwaukee, I was struck by how much the Republican convention spoke to the issues that the American people care about. The Democratic National Convention was 4 days of them talking about Donald Trump. And that's really what she focused on. She had about 5 minutes of unity and then went into attacks on Donald Trump. That's not solving the problems of the American people. That's not securing our border. That's not fixing inflation. And that's not making America strong. Donald Trump actually articulates what the American people are concerned about. He brings them solutions, and he's proven he can get it done when he was in the White House.
While he still does articulate more of that, particularly on those platform points, he also pivots back and looks back over what happened this summer, of course, with Joe Biden and the primary and all those things. At what point do you think Donald Trump should stop looking to the past and start looking to the future if he intends to be the leader of this country again?
Well, I mean, certainly I think Donald Trump has reasons to be frustrated. The Democratic Party has prosecuted him. The Democratic Party is engaged in a political coup to replace his former opponent on the ticket. He's been shot. But at the end of the day, we're entering the final 74 days of this election. We need to be all systems go moving forward. I think Donald Trump's team has one of the most outstanding ground games I've ever seen. And we've got to be focused on those battleground states. And I believe Donald Trump will dial in down the stretch here to articulate his vision to the American people that's going to restore our nation's strength.
Robert F. Kennedy announced today he is pulling out of the race. He is endorsing Trump. What does that do for your party?
I think it's a significant change of events. RFK has a sizable following, certainly people who identify with some of his issues. And when you go across those battleground states, it's a significant percentage. I mean, you could say 6%, who cares? Well, these battleground states are going to be razor-thin margins. And his polling percentage right now, if you model it off of the 2020 election in a state like Arizona, could be 40,000 votes shifting to Donald Trump. That's 10 times more than Joe Biden's victory in the state of Arizona in 2020. So this is a significant development, and I think it speaks to the dissatisfaction with the Democratic establishment, certainly after what we saw go down in Chicago, where they shoved Joe Biden out the door and put a new nominee forward simply to save their political skin.
Well, there certainly wasn't any Democrats who were worrying about that during the last 4 days at the convention. I am curious, though, as we move forward, because you're right. This campaign now, whether you're Republican, Democrat, because those are the only two standing, you are going to be hitting the ground running over the next 73, 74 days. Should we expect anything from Donald Trump in a place like New York? Should Western New Yorkers expect to see anything from Trump and or maybe his major surrogates throughout the next 70 or so days?
Yeah, you're always hopeful to get the president to come in, certainly significant surrogates. But at the end of the day, we recognize he's got to be focused in the battleground states, and we're going to be assisting in those battleground states. While we got to do our jobs getting out the vote here in Erie County, our volunteers are also going to be helping call into places like Pennsylvania, calling into North Carolina and Arizona and Nevada. So not only do we want to win Erie County, the most important thing is that we deliver a victory for Donald Trump, and our folks are ready to be involved in that fight.
Do you think it helps in some of those down ballot races? Like anything, we don't have a huge slate for this November, thankfully, because people can concentrate on the presidential. But do you think that helps some of the down ballots that are in your camp in November on the ballot?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I look at towns that have changed significantly, like Cheektowaga, where the president did very well in 16 and 20. We have a lot of politics in the town of Cheektowaga, and I believe that Donald Trump enthusiasm is going to help our entire Republican ticket, whether it be in our countywide races, state legislative campaigns. The energy is there, and we've got to kind of bottle it up and deploy it for our local candidates.
All right, Michael Kracker, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Michael.